In this video, I'm going to show you guys how you can take a PDF manual from Google Drive and chop it all up and turn it into a database that you can use for an AI chat assistant. And not only that, we're going to scrape the images from the manual and assign them a page ID so that we can display those images as well. So to get started, I'll get rid of my face down here. I'll just show you guys what this looks like. This is a quick little throw together. Can you show me the layout of this Seawind catamaran? So for this demo, I'm using a Seawind catamaran owner's manual. And I'll just quickly show you what this looks like. So it's 65 pages, table of contents. So you can see there's a few sort of complex images or diagrams in there that you probably want to provide when you're talking about specific things in here. So if I come back here, as you can see, the image is a little bit big, but this was, more for a back-end tutorial rather than the UI. Sure, the layout of the Seawind catamaran features central seating around the main deck, surrounded by various compartments for storage and access. Where can I find the firefighting appliances? And I'll admit this could be running a little bit faster, but it'll work for this demo. You can find the firefighting appliances in several locations on your Seawind. Aft cabin, forward cabin, port side starboard, fixed firefighting equipment. Let's go. What types of engines does this catamaran have? Oh, I think I jumped the gun. There's two 29 horsepower engines, and you can see it's got all these nice diagrams in here, which, like I was saying, they could be scaled down a little bit. I didn't want to go too crazy on the external chatbot. But if I come over to my manual extractor, actually, I'll come over to my database here and just show you guys what this looks like. So this is the Airtable database that I created from the manual. And as you can see, I got my page numbers. I got the title of each page and then the contents of each page. Images, if the page has image, and then I've just added a little image title and image description so that when the chatbot is talking about something, it can reference the image and say, oh, yep, I'm talking about this, but to see what I'm talking about, reference this image, etc., etc. But if I come over to my manual PDF extractor, so the first part of this is pretty simple. We're just going to get the manual from Google Drive. So I just set whatever it is in here, saving the ID and name, which you probably don't even need to do really. And then I'm going to use a Google Drive download. So we're going to download the manual and then extract raw text from PDF. So pretty simple so far, but then here, this is one of the core blocks that you're going to want to take a look at. So this is a little code that I wrote, or AI wrote, to extract the title, page number, and content on the page. So I do want to do a little update of this because I do have a little idea for creating an AI agent that can write this code for you and scans the PDF to make sure, or to see how it's structured, so you can dynamically just add PDFs in or manuals in rather than having to write this for a specific. But have a little look at this. I recommend You know, the Ask AI in here is it's pretty decent, but if it's not working, I recommend get the Ask AI to write it for you once, and then get the code and then go over to Claude and get Claude to rewrite it or tidy it up. And I feel like most of the time it'll work after that. But what am I extracting here? So if you look back in my table, I got my page, I got my title, I got my content. So in the manual, what I want it to identify is, so let's go here. For example, the page number is just after owner's handbook. Exterior maintenance is in all capital letters, which will be the heading. So that's basically all I want to get at this point. I just want the page number and that. So if I look at this, so it's looking for owner's handbook, and we got a Seawind catamarans, which this might be applied for the top half. But basically, you just kind of getting the code to write your regex sort of pattern, so it can always identify where these points are. And then there's a few things where they don't have a title at the top, so they've just put the first sentence or something like that, which doesn't matter. You can come and clean it up later. But just so this looks like, I'll just run this so you guys can see. And see, if you look here, you can see page number, page title, page content. Then I have this little loop here, because if we just quickly go back to here, some of the pages are in Roman numerals. So a little bit of a mess around, but all this code block here does is literally just changes those Roman numerals to normal numbers. And I've got this in a loop here. So if I just click on that one, it's going to loop over every set of this instant and basically check, are the Roman numerals for the page number? If no, continue, create record. If not, loop back around. So I'll just do this one here. And I'll just point out there are a few little fiddly things like that when you are working with these manuals, because they all do have slight variations with them, but I'll give you guys a few sort of tips and point out a few things along the way. So here, see, that's been changed to 2. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to create our first record, and we're going to take the page number, page title, and page content. So to do this, I might just delete all of this so that we got a clean slate. No, not that, not that. That. So that's all done. Loop back around, and then that'll do it for every record. See, we got that. Now, so that's the easy part. And now we want to process our images. And for this, I've got another download Google Drive, just because a lot of the time once you pass through one of these code blocks, it won't let you access variables from the flow before. And that's why I've just saved the ID and name here so I can use it again. So in here, this will be my ID and name. So we'll run that. And you can see save file ID and name. Where is it? Save file ID and name, which it's not coming up there, but it worked. And then we have this binary data file here. And this is where we're going to scrape the images from the manual. And what we're using for this is this API endpoint, which is for extracting PDFs, and it actually works pretty good. The only thing that kind of annoys me about it is it returns base64. So if I just give this a little run, and to fill in all your details here, you literally just copy this and paste it in here and you'll be good to go. Then down here, you want to put in data for data. And I've just got it set to default. So if I just have a little look here, value date JPEG, something tells me that's not right. So I'm just using default settings JPEG. So success, show data, and you can see it's got this big long base64, which is not exactly what we want. And now I have this split out response, because if I go and look at this, it's all actually, let's have a look, in one thing like this, but I want to loop over and process every single one of these images individually. So I've got a split out response, files, and then I'm going to do this loop here. So let's click play on that. So ignore that, it didn't actually do the whole loop, it just has to do it whenever you click on one of these image loops. So now I'm going to convert the base64 into a file. So move base64 string to file data, output. So I'm just going to output it in data, and we'll click play. So now we have a binary data file. But the problem is that although we have a binary data folder, we don't have a URL. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload it to Google Drive, which will create a URL for it that we can actually use, because we can't actually upload this to other databases and things until we have a URL that we can actually use. And even still, the Google Drive URL isn't that good. So it's a little bit of a mess around, but it's convert base64 to JPEG, upload that to Google Drive, then get the URL from Google Drive and upload that to Airtable. And then you have a good URL that you can use to do things like, down here I've got a OpenAI image analysis tool, which you can use Google Drive URLs in it, but half the time it literally times out and it really doesn't like it. So basics 4 to Google Drive, play that, upload file, and this is just a random file I have here, which I think it's full of all my old images. Yep. And if you look at these images, you'll see they've been named, you know, the heading, page number, image. So page 17, image 1. And you see all these image 1s. Looks like there's been a little bit of a double up. And you get the idea anyway. So you upload the image, and then here you're going to change it so that the file can be shared. So you're just getting the file ID, change role to reader, anyone. And then down here, I got another little code thing, which is get page number. And that we're getting from the title here. So it's just like a little regex code that extracts the page number from there. And then we're going to use that to map back to the text records we created. But I think in this one, there's something, no, I thought I might have added a little something sneaky in there as well. So same thing, if you're using the same API to scrape images, it should be structured the same way, and you guys can just copy and paste this. And then we have our data there. And now, just for convenience and keeping everything tidy, I'm just going to save my page number, my upload link, and my ID. And just with the download link, because you'll see you got thumbnail, icon, you want the web content link, the download one. So you get that, and then we're going to save that, and then we're going to upload the image to Airtable. So that's all done. And then now I've got my Airtable here where I'm going to upload it. Just beware that if you have too many nodes between your Airtable upload and your Google Drive getting your download link, basically, you're probably going to have a few issues. So there is a bit of room to play around or move this around a little bit. And you probably don't need everything in here. Like, you probably don't need this weight, and you could probably get rid of this if you really wanted to. But just understand that, if you start putting this too far down the line, you might not be able to reach this again. And a lot of the time you won't be able to grab things through these code blocks. So I think in this one, I've done something sneaky where I've actually got the code to pass all of these variables through my JSON parser as well. So it's not only passing my output from here, but it's just passing the variables through so I can still use them. But that's that. And now we're going to upsert record. And one thing I'll point out, notice here I'm using the page number. So I'm using the page to map back to my Airtable database. Also, I've got this set to a create or update, because in this specific file or manual, what's actually happening is, actually maybe, see, it's starting here on page 2 because my first page doesn't have any numbers or any of the things that I'm pulling like this. So it's actually skipping this page. So now I'm creating or trying to create a record with page ID 1 or update a record, but it's not there. So having this as create or update is just a little fallback. So if it's not there, you're still going to get the data and you're not going to break your workflow. Then with this URL, it does have to be a array. So if you see, actually, let's just put these side by side. So if I grab the URL like that, that's what the URL is going to look like. But so you need to put this into an array sort of JSON format. So you got the URL in the brackets, and then you got these square brackets either side in here. And so this is critical, or else you're not going to be able to upload your file to Airtable. And it's the same sort of format if you want to link records. You have to provide an array. Actually, I think for linking records you don't need that bit. You can just put some square brackets in there and you'll be good. And then here I have a wait 5 seconds. And that's just because when you upload to Airtable, you can see the URL here, it's still the Google Drive URL, but we don't want that. We want the Airtable URL. So just put, and I think it just needs a few seconds to swap over because I didn't have this in here before and it would go through too fast. And if you're using the Google Drive URL, probably 50% of the time, ChatGPT is not going to like it and it's going to start throwing errors because it's timing out or whatever. So I've just put a little wait 5 seconds in there, and then I'm getting the record I've just created. Actually, better do that one first. And then when I come in here, I'm just getting either the same ID there or there, and getting the record I just updated. And as I was saying, this is still the Google Drive URL. And after this, getting this record, you should be able to see that it's actually the Airtable URL. Oh, and I had a problem analyze image. It's because it's jumping ahead here. And I bet it's because of the Google Drive URL if it is. So if I come back, what's going on? I might just run the full. So as I suspected, as we were going through that, basically, as we were coming through here, I'm pretty sure I didn't click the share file. And because I didn't do that, I was unable to upload to Airtable. And then I didn't have the image I needed in my database. And I suspect that is the record that broke it. But at least now you can see everything that's going on. So if I come back to get my Airtable record, I was saying in the last one, over here you can see it's a Google URL. And then if I come over here, you can see here, this is now an Airtable URL, which we can actually use in OpenAI. So that's that. Pass to OpenAI, and what I'm getting it to do is write a title, a short description, and a long description, which I'm not using all of them for the chatbot at the moment, but the short description basically means if I want to do an image search, it's going to make life a lot easier. Title, obviously know what it is, and then a long description. This is what I pass to the chatbot, so it has context over what's in the actual image. So simple little prompt. You guys can copy that. And just with this share file, the reason I have it branched off the top here is because when I have it down here, it actually cuts off me being able to use the um, the download URL from my Google Drive. So I've just put this up here, and then these flows can all still use that. Now with my JSON parser, so as you can see, this is what my output looks like. It's all in JSON, but it's just the OpenAI raw JSON. So I'm just processing it, but then I'm doing something else a little bit sneaky here. I'm actually passing my page number from my get record through here so that I can still access it once I go past this code block. Because when I was first building this, as soon as anything got past this one, I wasn't able to use it. So I just started, and be honest, I thought I did it for this one as well. So I'm just telling it when I'm writing these little things, I'm getting it to pass that through. So then I have the page number in the input along with my title, short and long descriptions. And then obviously upload, match on page number, title, JSON, description, and I'm not using the short description, but I think I just left it in there in case I did want to use it for something else. And then I got this weight here, which you could probably take out, but you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And this was originally there because I was doing too many requests to analyze images too fast. So sometimes if you do too many requests here, you just got to slow it down a little. The same with up here. If you updating an Airtable record, then instantly grabbing it, it sometimes doesn't update fast enough and you get the Google URL rather than the Airtable URL. But that's how I process that. I haven't run the full thing again, but you can see it started to do a few of the images. I think I got 17 or 18 images in there, so I didn't want to go through and do them all. And then for my chat, you can do this the vector database way, but I've kind of just made a little demo like this, which I sometimes do a few little things like this. And basically all this is doing, I've basically taken the table of contents and organized it into, you know, a tidy little thing. And then I have this prompt, which is basically to output the top 3 pages that are the most relevant and output them in a filter by formula for Airtable. So you can see here, page or 16, 55 or 17. So it's getting the top 3 pages. And actually, maybe I'll go through this now, but I don't have really any good images. No, we can do this. All right, let's just go. What are the iOS stability standards? I don't want it to go all the way through. So you can see here, outputting Airtable filter by formula. Do a little search on that, top 3 records, and then I just want to aggregate those 3 records, because if you look here, I got 1 record, and you'd have to either do a loop through it or aggregate it. So, and you see on this side, it's all just 1, and then that's basically just my database search. And then I got a quick throw together prompt for this specific thing, and you can see I'm passing it all the data. But this isn't the standard way I sort of set things up. This is just something I sometimes do, but not really in N8n. I'll do this if I'm using a different chatbot builder platform, or as an alternative to a vector database. And generally I'll do this for smaller sort of things. So this is probably the limit of how big I'll go with these, but it's a good little example of how you can grab a table of contents and just get OpenAI to filter through it and pull back the pages that you need. Because sometimes with the vector databases chunking and things like that, you do want to, you know, have a bit more, keep a bit more track of where things are. But that's enough for this. I'll leave a link to where you can find or get this template if you want it. Oh, and actually, there were a couple updates I was going to do to this thing, and I thought I'd just throw them in there and tell you guys just for something to be aware of. So some things I was thinking of adding in here. Last review, check for gaps in data and tidy up. So if I come over and look at this, you can see here, it's obviously got the first row table of contents. Probably don't need the rest of that in there. And then there's the odd sort of page here and there that has, you know, the first sentence rather than a title. So there's a few things that can be tidied up in here. You know, these few pages you probably don't really need. And then as you can see here, I've got a gap here. So there's a few things that could be tidied up on the back end, which I'll probably do at some point. And how I'll add that into here is once this has been processed, you can just add more stuff onto the end of here. Additionally, some other things I feel like I should point out. OCR option. So basically, and this is a good one just to be aware, because this whole thing is not going to work if you have a manual that's been photocopied. So if I come in here, I can highlight things and you can see that the computer can detect, oh, this is text, there's something here, there's something there. If you have a manual that someone's photocopied and uploaded, you're not going to be able to do any of that. And if you can't do that, this whole flow is not going to work. So not all, like most of the manuals you can, but if they have been photocopied, you guys, this is not going to work. And basically what you have to do is you pretty much have to AI analyze the whole manual and scan it all. And OCR is good for that. Definitely a bit more of a process, but I'm thinking in later versions of this, I'll probably create another branch down here so that if a manual is that version, it can be processed. And then another little thing that I wanted to add in here, which I probably will at some point, is a little code script generator. So at the start, I have this script where it extracts, you know, titles and page numbers and stuff but it's real specific to my manual. So what I reckon I could do, or that I might do in the future, when I have some time, is I'll write a few different scripts like this for a few different manuals, and then I'll train AI on how to write these scripts. So whenever you put a new manual into here, you can have the AI generate this script and just put it straight in there. But maybe I'll do a later updated version of this when I got a bit more time. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to get the template for this, I'll put it on my Skool community or something like that, or a link below or whatever. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.